Hi there. Please welcome our first Sip to Save 17 honored Previver, Ashley Todd Bourgeois. Ashley, thanks
Oh,
for joining us today.
thank you for having me.
It's so good to see you.
You too, Miss Karen. How have you
You
been?
look, I've been wonderful, and you look fantastic.
Thank you. I put makeup on for the first time in I don't even know how long.
It's amazing what these podcasts and Zoom meetings will do for your self-esteem.
Yes, for sure.
Well, Ashley, we're going to talk a little bit today about your story. And unfortunately, you are no stranger to cancer. Your family has had to deal with the horrors of cancer on so many levels and on so many different occasions. Can you give us a little bit of uh, background story on your mother's cancer crisis?
So when I was around 9 or 10, my mom found a lump in her breast and she went to the doctor and the doctor told her she was too young. Don't worry about it. Stop drinking root beer. I remember this vividly. She said, doctor told me to stop drinking root beer. I was too young to forget about it. And I said, okay. And she called me in the bathroom and she made me feel it. And I was like, oh, it feels like a bouncy ball that you catch at Mardi Gras. And she said, yeah.
Yes.
And I said, okay. And she's like, if you ever feel anything like this, go to the doctor. I said, okay. And we left it at that. So when we're in 8th grade, she got pregnant. And towards the end of the pregnancy, she threw her back out. And they couldn't do anything about it. So a month after my brother was born, she goes to the doctor and they found a huge tumor on the back. And that was what caused her to throw her back out. And that was in April of 98. And pretty much that's when she was diagnosed. And my entire high school career was her going back and forth with chemo and radiation. She went into remission twice. And a week before I left for college and a month before my 18th birthday, she passed away. So it was a quick lesson to learn and to see what chemo and radiation do to somebody. I mean, it's not a fairy tale by any means or easy by any means for anyone. It's not a
No,
quick fix.
no, it isn't. And how old was your mother when she passed?
35? Yeah, she would have turned 36 in October and she passed away in August.
And she found her lump when she was how old?
So I was around 9 or 10, so 26, 27.
So really, breast cancer is not an age dictated disease, and root beer doesn't cause you to have lumps or breast cancer. And I'm so sorry your mother got poor advice.
No.
Um,
And that was a big thing even with me was because we learned really early that, and my nanny and my grandmother were extremely big advocates of this, start 10 years prior to her diagnosis, mammograms, getting checked with doctors yearly for me. And when we would go to the doctors and they were like, no, you're too young. You don't need a mammogram. And we had my first OBG wouldn't do it. So we went on and found a second OBG and my current one who I adore. And I've heard him on the phone with people saying, no, she needs to have it. No, she needs to have it. And they wouldn't give me a mammogram when I was first starting getting them. They would give me MRIs with contrast. And it was a war. And without the right doctors behind you, you get told no because of your age. And that's something that's always bothered me because cancer doesn't have an age. Like,
it doesn't. And I'm so glad that you didn't take no for an answer. We do have to be our own advocates for our health, because just because the acceptable standard is blanket for everyone, it doesn't fit for everyone. Your shoes don't fit other people. What's going on inside of you is different and needs individual attention, and I'm glad you pushed for that. How did your mother's story influence your diagnosis, or your decision rather, to take matters into your own hands and become a previver, which I don't even know if at the time you decided to do that there was even a name for it?
so funny story. My grandmother, Angelina Jolie, had her surgery and she had a mastectomy as a preventative measure. And my grandmother came up to me and said, you need to get this test done. And I was like, I really don't want to, because if it comes out positive, that doesn't mean I'm going to get cancer. If it comes out negative, it doesn't mean I'm not going to get cancer. So for 2 years, I fought my grandmother, and you knew my grandmother. And
Yes.
she's not somebody that you easily fight with. So I fought her. And one day I went for my yearly with my OBG, who I've already said I love and trust. And he's like, no, you're going to get the test. And I'm like, really don't want to. And he's like, it's 2 minutes, Ashley, take it. I said, okay. And we did it and came back that Thanksgiving, tested positive for BRCA2. And I was like, okay, well, now the real battle begins, because now it's not even just an idea. Now we know it's a reality. And my mom was 26, 27, 28. You know, she was young when her real battle began, and she was 35 when she died. And I'm like, crap, that's right where I'm at. And I don't want to follow in her footsteps. I want, I want to be proactive, not reactive if I can.
And that's a very brave decision on a person as young as you are. And I'm sure a great motivator for your decision is the fact that you are a single mom and you want your child to have his mom for as long as possible, because you got robbed on that end.
Well, it's not even just me, my brothers too. And I looked
Yes.
at Noah and I was like, I don't want to miss anything. I don't want him to miss anything. And he doesn't have, an older sister like Corey and CJ and Trey had that is going to be able to pick up a little bit of the slack at least. And I didn't
Yes.
want that for him. And I don't want anybody else, being mom or taking care
Sure.
of my kid. That's my kid. So
Sure.
it was a huge, nothing I do in my life doesn't reflect on how it's going to impact Noah. And even when we found out the diagnosis, I was like, okay, we have to take care of him first. And
Well, and that's very selfless on your part, and that is a gift to Noah and a gift to yourself. It was a very scary decision to have to make, to have a double radical mastectomy at such a young age. And as women, it's part of who we are. But I know you had a great reconstructive surgeon, Dr. Thomas Sands. Oh,
yeah.
I know, he's so awesome.
I love him.
He's a great supporter of KTSRBI as well.
He's great.
He's an amazing person. And that was the first time I had met him through you. And when I saw how very happy and how very confident you were post reconstruction, I was sold on him, and have met several other patients of his. We'll have to have him on one day.
He is such a person who will take the time with you and explain it to you and sit there and support you. And he wasn't my first doctor. I had a doctor before him who told me no, who sat there and told me not to have the surgery and wait. And I left the appointment. My nanny was with me, and I cried.
And wait for what? Wait for cancer to come?
It was a woman, plastic surgeon, and she told me to wait. She said to wait till I was done having children and done, to wait till I was older. And we left that appointment. I was so confused, and I cried and by the elevator and almost had a panic attack. And my nanny's like, take a few days, think it over. And my whole thing was, with my mom, the cancer fed off the pregnancy hormones. So if I had another baby and there was even a small amount, then I was going to do exactly what my mom did. And I didn't want to do that. So when we really talked it out, I didn't listen to the second doctor. And then we found Dr. Sands, and I was so thankful. He was such a knight in shining armor, and he was just supportive. And to this day, he sees me and he'll the same amount of support as I got from the first time I met him.
And a good many of our honored survivors and previvors are patients of Dr. Sands, and you all just speak so highly of him. And I've gotten to be friends with him over the years, and he's definitely a trusted opinion and person.
He's an advocate too, and he pushes forward.
He is. Who took care of you post-surgery? And your son? Your son was very young, and you definitely needed some post-surgery assistance.
So when we found out the diagnosis, the first thing I did was I talked to my grandmother, my nanny, and I said, okay, Noah. And I feel like, well, you have to talk to William being my ex-husband. And so before I made any doctor's appointments, I had a conversation with him, and he said, whatever you need. And I'm one of the lucky ones. I have a phenomenal ex-husband, and I have a phenomenal relationship with him. And he's like, whatever you need. And I said, okay. I said, but I'm one of these people that if I don't see my kid 5 or 6 days and he's within reach, like, if he goes off, that's one thing. But if he's in the same city, I want my kid. And he's like, I'll take you to come visit him and everything. And so I said, okay. So then the next person was me. And I looked at my nanny and she's like, guess you're moving into the bottom bedroom. I said, I guess I am. And she changed my tubey thingies, and she had a notebook with my doctor appointments and my measurements, and she was my doctor at home, and she did everything. She changed my bandages, she emptied my tubes, she dispersed medicine, fussed at me, made me get up. So she was
And I know your nanny, Ms. Andrews, and she's just one of those earth angels like we talked about earlier in the
she's scary too.
I don't see her that way. I just see her as a sweet earth angel, but that's okay. Sometimes you need somebody tough to push you along.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Well, not only were you our first Previver honored, but you were also our first grant recipient from KTSRVI. And there were certainly costs incurred that weren't covered during your experience. I know some of that time was blurry for you. I understand that. I have some blurry moments in my journey as well. But do you remember how you applied for the grant and how it helped cover some of your outstanding bills?
I remember being in the hospital. It was, I think it's the second day of recovery. No, it was the first day of recovery, right after my first surgery. And you came in, and we were sitting there talking, and you asked me about everything, and you asked my nanny, and because I think I was dozing in and out, and you said, does she have any outstanding bills? And my nanny's like, yeah, she has, we're going to keep getting them too. And you asked her for them, and you told her the process to apply for the grant. And from there, it went really quickly, and it was such a relief. And I think it helps with your physical recovery as well, because you're not, mental and physical are so intertwined that people don't realize it, that when you're stressed and out, how am I going to pay for this? It doesn't help you physically. And
Right.
it was such a one of those angels. I call you an angel all the time, but one of those angel moments that I was like, God was really looking out for me. And I tell everybody, my dad sent you somehow or another, because you were really good friends with my dad. And he was, in his own way, he was still taking care of me through you. And it was just such a relief not to have that extra worry on our backs during that time. And as a single mom, it's like, that was one of my biggest things. I didn't want to do the surgery because of the money. And then I was like, well, we'll figure it out. And somehow it got figured out in a very unexpected way.
Well, I'm so glad. And that's part of our mission, to relieve as much stress and anxiety as we can from someone going through a cancer experience. And you were definitely very much influential on how we started our grant program. Our grant program is for people like you, because it's not just ladies who get breast cancer, who would like to apply for a grant, and it's up to $2,500. And the application goes before our board and gets approved, and we release those funds as long as our budget allows. I believe last year we gave away 2 or 3 grants, to where we were usually just giving 1 a year. So I thank you for helping me get that going. I really do appreciate it. Before we sign off, Ashley, would you advise our followers how to get through this unexpected journey at such a young age? What did you do to get through this?
Talk about it. Talk about your fears. Good advice. And trusting yourself. I think that's the one thing people do, is they listen to doctors and they don't question. Make questions. And talk to the people around you. Find resources. You were amazing as far as research questions I wouldn't have thought to ask. And use those resources to find the best aspects for you. I mean, I never knew who Dr. Sands was, and talk. You ask people who have had to deal with a situation similar, and don't hold it in, because it will eat at you. But find people, find resources, and ask questions. And just because one doctor tells you not to do it or tells you it's a bad idea, if your gut's telling you one thing, you have to be your own biggest warrior, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And just because doctors are human too, and they make mistakes, and sometimes you have to push the envelope and push them to do the right thing, and to find the extra little nook and cranny that they may have missed the first time. And
That's spot on advice. It truly is. You do have to trust yourself, and it never hurts to get more than one opinion. And I think the tide is changing regarding early detection and prevention in younger people, which is a good thing. And I'm so glad that you're here to talk about it. And I'm so proud of you, Ashley,
thank
for being
you.
so courageous. And I love you. And I can't wait to
Oh,
see
thank
you
I love y'all
again.
too.
And hug Noah for me. And
Good job.
he's so cute. Everyone should have a ginger.
I don't know. They're exhausting sometimes. They're quite spirited.
Well,
He
he's
doesn't
very,
have any
very,
personality, does he?
Not at all. Everything my dad wished on me, he got. So, but, I do want to say thank you because I've actually sent a few people your way for
well,
questions.
thank you.
And they, both of the people I've talked to that have talked to you said, "Oh my God, that was such a huge help." And
I'm so
such
glad
a
because
different.
we are here to answer questions, and I get teased a lot about not knowing where my phone is all the time. But I don't screen my calls. I pick up every phone number or return every call because we are a good source of information. And if we don't know the answer to something, we'll help that person find the answer. So
Chuck said it, I think, on the last one. He said cancer's biggest mistake was finding you. And to me, it's just like that was the biggest blessing was finding you because, dear Lord, they couldn't have somebody fighting against them any worse. Because
both the boys have told me on more than one occasion that I was too mean for cancer.
I don't think mean. That's not a word, but
maybe scary. Maybe
feisty.
like maybe feisty.
Non-hospitable to cancer.
There you
There
go.
we go.
I was
I
a
like it.
non-hospitable environment for cancer.
I like
Took it
that
too
one.
personally.
Yes. Yes.
Well, honey, we love you. We're so glad you're still walking this side of the grass and raising that beautiful boy of yours. And we look forward to seeing you real soon.
Yes. I hope we get to have a sip to save. If not this year, then early next year.
We have an exciting
Special
announcement to make very soon. Yes.
Yay.
All right,
excited.
honey. Love you and take care.
Bye. Love y'all.